speaking with Bea Renk, and she has agreed to share her memories with us. So it's up to you now, Bea.
Oh. Well, I don't know what do you know about where the Monmouth Junction School is? The Monmouth Junction
I don't think
School
anyone
now
is, right?
is sitting on the farm. That was my grandfather's farm.
Mm-hmm.
And my father farmed it. And he had a milk route through Monmouth Junction. My father had a milk. He had that little bungalow built that's in front of the school now.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived there for, quite a number of years until, of course, the estate had to be settled up, and then we moved up on the Ridge Road.
May I interrupt? Your father and mother, they lived there how long before you were born, and your family?
No, well, I wasn't born in that bungalow.
Mm-hmm.
I was lived in Grammy Emmy's house.
Okay, that's down back of
Back of the church.
on,
Yeah.
what road is that, Butch?
Well, it's Pearson's
Santa Lucia.
now, isn't it? They've changed it to the name Pearson's.
Well, they've changed
Yeah,
it
it
to
used to be
Pearson.
Walnut, I believe. Wasn't it Walnut before?
I really don't
Walnut
remember.
Avenue?
Or wasn't it an extension of New Road, was it?
Down where the station was, down that area? Down where the Evans' store and the post office?
No.
No, okay, I'm
no.
sorry.
In back
No,
of John's church, the Presbyterian.
The church.
Okay, that used to be New Road, now
New
they
Road.
named it.
Pearson, didn't they?
Yes.
I read somewhere, I
Yes,
thought
that's
they
right.
named it Pearson.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to go across the railroad track and around the corners and then on up.
Were your parents born in the area?
I really don't know.
Don't know.
No, my mother I know came from Trenton
Mhm.
area, but I don't know. I would suppose my father would have been if the farm there belonged to his mother and father.
Did it? So that
Yeah.
farm was quite a turn of the century farm and before.
Yeah, and the farmhouse sat just about where the school is now. Yeah.
Mhm. How many acres did he own there?
I don't know, except I know when I was a little girl I had to watch the cows.
Uh-huh.
And you had to go down along where Monmouth Drive is now.
Mhm.
Down Monmouth Drive, across a little brook, and then there were two open fields. One was a stony field and another field. And they went on back and went across the Rocky Hill Railroad track to the Big Woods.
That was the big woods.
That was the Big Woods. And then there was a stony field woods over on by this stony field. So every afternoon it was my job to go over to the Big Woods and bring the cows into this other field and watch them while they got the grass.
Now your dad was a dairy farmer,
Yeah.
and did he raise the feed, food for the cows? Did he raise that?
It was mostly the grass and
Okay.
yeah, in the summer and the winter you have to give them.
Now did he
yeah.
buy from Bennett and Clayton? Is that where he bought his feed? Were they
I
in
really don't
business
know.
then? And was
I
Stouts,
imagine so,
was
yes.
Stouts Lumber in business? Do you remember that being in
Yeah.
business then?
Mhm. Yeah. And then, of course, when we moved up to Perrine Road, really was where we moved up to. And it was my job every Saturday to come to Monmouth Junction and collect the milk bills because he was still delivering milk.
Mhm.
So I would have to walk out Perrine Road to Ridge Road and then roller skate
Uh-huh.
down to Monmouth Junction and collect the bills and roller skate back up.
That's very interesting. yeah.
Very interesting. And you went where to school?
Well, the Monmouth Junction School until the I was in the 7th grade when we moved up Perrine Road.
And the school?
And then the 8th grade I went to Kingston.
Mhm.
The Ridge Road people went to Kingston School then.
And that was across from the garage?
Benny Stewart's garage.
Benny Stewart's
Mm.
garage.
You know, that's a building that really ought to be kept historically. That's an old building.
Well, that's a good idea.
Mhm.
Mm. something in it, don't they?
I don't really what's in it.
I know it's not a school any longer anyhow.
You feel the same as I did about the school in Monmouth Junction. I wish that had been
Hmm.
deserved to a church. So you went to school in Kingston, and then you went
Princeton
Princeton.
High,
4 years.
yeah.
Then you went to,
I was amongst the first graduating class from the new Princeton High School.
are you interested?
Yeah, and then I went to Trenton Normal School. Now everybody asks me, what's a normal school?
Yeah, that's, I remember.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was called, normal school.
Isn't that where many of the teachers did go?
Yeah,
From
that's
the
what
area,
it all was,
because
I
it was
think,
all-
yeah.
Mostly for teachers.
Mm.
Did they call that Trenton Teachers College later or something like that, or?
Well, then it moved. When it moved, they changed its name, and then it became this was a 3-year course at the normal school. And then it was changed to the 4-year.
And how did you get to Princeton? Mr. Luker's bus?
Bus, yes. Mm-hmm. Mr. Luker could always seat you. Maybe not where you were supposed to be.
But where he wanted you to be.
He'd start up the bus and jerk it along. Yeah.
So where was your first teaching job?
My first was my practice teaching over in Dayton for Miss Dobin. She got sick and I was left with the class. Yeah, for a short time. Then my first permanent one was in Kingston. Kingston, the first permanent one.
In the old Kingston school. They're still
Yeah.
there then?
Yeah, that old school, it's still
Still
there.
used it, because somebody said that they had stopped using it for school in between, even back maybe in that time. I don't know whether that's so.
It had been continuous school
Oh,
when I was there.
I thought that's what it was.
Mm.
Then you were married.
Mm-hmm.
Were you
Well-
married in the church around here, or Kingston Church? Or?
Well, no, at the minister's house we were married. Didn't have a big wedding. No. No.
What was your maiden name?
Landis.
Landis, okay. Because everybody knows her as Mrs. Renk, but
Right.
Yeah.
you had an identity before you got married, so I just wanted to bring that
Yeah.
out, yeah.
And the Culvers are related to your mother, did you say, or your husband's
No.
mother? Your husband?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Edgar's
Edgar
mother
Renk's.
was a Culver.
Mhm.
Yeah, this place belonged to them, yeah. And we bought it. Somehow Dylan Thomas got a hold of it, I guess. He was selling to the old people that were here, the way I understand it. And so that he had, well, what would you say? Whether they actually owned it or what, but anyhow, we bought it through from him.
Mhm. So you have how many acres here?
100.
100.
Mm. There was 126, and then we sold off of where NJE is, or was. It isn't there any longer. That was 20-some acres over there. So left 100 over on this side.
You have 2 sons
Mm-hmm.
and grandchildren?
2 granddaughters and 2 grandsons.
Very nice. And
But, well, about saying it.
And then Mr. Renk, where did you meet Mr. Renk?
Church.
And he was a
I
local
sang in the
resident?
choir and he sat on the back seat. And
that was it.
we used to exchange glances.
Uh-huh.
And he lived around here at the time then? His
Yes,
family from
he-
here?
Well, after we were, my family was on Prime Road. Then we moved out on Ridge Road, right and Granddaddy Renk was the mailman for
You're right.
years and
right.
years and years. Yeah.
We always went to the post office, Bea. We didn't have a mailman.
You didn't have the mailman come, huh?
But I remember
Did they
him-
ride horses at that time, or how did they deliver mail then?
Well, the horse, I've heard Granddaddy say it was horse and wagon that he
Horse
did
and
it
wagon?
first, yeah.
And how,
But
you
it-
remember when he started on that, or how long ago it might have been?
No, I don't. That's all I ever knew he did was,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long he had done it.
And he became an assessor for the township,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
as did your husband.
Yeah, that's where Edgar took over from his dad, yeah. Mhm.
Now, just where on Ridge, is it the old Renk farm that's opposite the old flood home? Or
Yes,
And
yeah.
you lived at the
Well,
flood
we were
house?
in the flood house, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that was a Renk property also? Or you just?
No,
Mhm.
no, that was just,
A rental?
who did it belonged to Mr. Flood. Then I don't know who owned it before that.
Always like that.
And then, then we finally moved back down Ridge Road where Wexford 2 now is, where that farm was. My father bought that, and that's where he passed away there. He was still delivering milk.
Was he?
Mm. And we used to get 10 cents a quart in the summertime, and 12 cents a quart in the wintertime.
That's amazing. They changed the, I guess, why did they raise the rate in the winter? Was
Well,
more
because they had to
expensive?
buy feed for the cows then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it might have been the transportation in the cold, but that had nothing to do with it.
No.
No, just the rate, cost of feed.
Yeah.
So the Landis home sat up in the hill? Where Mildred
That
Landis?
was my uncle,
That was your uncle? I
my
don't
father's brother, yeah.
I don't remember the Landis home then. That was torn down?
There's still a
Which
Renk
one?
house in that area.
That you said that you lived, the Landis home on Ridge?
Oh, that he bought, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, that's been torn down now, yeah, where
That's where
Wexford
Wexford
2
is.
is.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's been
Another old
torn down.
farmhouse gone.
Yeah.
And there's still a Renk house up by Prime Road, right? As you come off of Ridge Road, there's one house that sits up there.
Yeah, yeah, that's Granddaddy Renk's place. But that I guess now, it has been sold, but then, it didn't get settled, and now it must be settled, because they seem to be working there.
Uh-huh.
No doubt that house they'll tear that down, I guess.
And that old school is on Prime Road,
The Ridge School?
right? Back of Taffner's. There's an
Oh, that old building?
Mhm.
Now that, I don't know how true this is, but that was the old Ridge School building.
That's what I'm told.
Yeah,
We're told.
and that it was situated where the Drayers live now. You know where they live?
Yes, right opposite the street. A little diagonal.
Yeah.
Since,
Yeah,
Down by
And-
Doug. Yeah.
and my father claims, I don't know whether it's true, that that's where he went to school as a child. And he had to walk from the farm up to the,
Up Ridge Road.
up the Ridge Road to that little old school.
It's quite a walk.
Yeah. Mhm.
So you had your children and you did some substituting, and then you went back full-time, right?
Yes, yeah.
At the Junction School, Monmouth Junction School.
Well, no, yes, that's
The
where
new
it
school,
was.
the new Monmouth
The new
Junction.
one, yeah.
On Ridge.
Mhm.
Do you have any
Yeah.
memories of your childhood in Monmouth Junction that when you were growing up, besides, with the cows or from school? Or...
Well, the thing I remember is going ice skating behind Stouts. There was a little pond there,
Right,
and going ice skating
As we
there.
all did.
And going sleigh riding down, start way up where the church is now, and flop down on the sleigh and go around the corners and on up toward Bennett and Clay Hill the other way.
Stouts Hill. we used to call it
Yeah.
Stouts Hill.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then Hungry Hill.
And, well, Hungry Hill too, yeah.
Yes, that was a good,
Do you know why Hungry Hill got its name?
No, I often wondered
See, nobody knows how that name
whether
came
the
about.
people were.
well, there were
Were hungry or-
homes that the railroad owned up there for their workers.
Oh,
So now I don't know whether that's how it got
had
its
something to do with it, maybe.
name. It was a company home.
Mm.
There were 3 or 4 up there, I believe.
Yeah, there were, that were where the Klauses lived, and next, right now Nortons are in it, I forget, oh, I know, Thurston's, I think was the name, that lived there. And I can remember going there, she had a girl about my age. After school, go in there, and on their table in the dining was a can of condensed milk. And I used to love to get a spoonful of that condensed milk, not having had that at home.
Well, next to Dr. Davies, I remember the Brutons. That's about the longest I remember.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the
Brutons.
Thursday.
Then my uncle lived
before
in the
that.
next one,
Oh,
and the Pundles lived in the next one. I just remember those names. And of course, the Hunts at the foot of the hill, and then the Dusts
yeah.
across the street on the other side at the foot of the hill.
The Hunts were always there, weren't they?
That I remember.
Yeah. You don't remember them?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, as far as I remember.
We don't go
too.
back quite as far as we'd like to know the knowledge of the area.
I think they seem to be the only family who was there as far as I remember. And the Doss, you say, on down the next one.
And Mrs. Doss was a Griggs.
And then across the railroad track,
Were you able to
were my
cross?
cousins, the Carsons. I don't know who lived there before they did.
They called it the Carson Farm back there, didn't they, or something?
Did they call it
I
that?
think when I was a kid,
Yeah.
didn't they call it the Carson Farm?
Could be. There used to be a good-sized apple orchard there, where
I remember that.
where the church is, that they turned into a house.
Right.
That was the church as a child that I went to. Used to have.
So you had to walk past my house to get there, where I lived.
Well, now which house did you live in?
The first one going around the corner towards the tracks after you pass the church.
After you passed the church, went around the corner.
Right there was our house. The next house was the Mahan house. Next house was the Lukers. Next
Oh,
house was the
yeah.
Pennells.
Yeah, in Pennells, yeah. Well, that I understand. I have heard that my mother and father, that's when they first married, they lived in the Pennell house for a
Pennell
while.
house. Okay.
So I don't know. And then I guess to Mammy Emmy's house. I don't know. That's what it was always called.
Do you remember anything about the old railroad station, how it looked? or-
Yeah, oh yes. There was a big station there.
Beautiful, wasn't it?
Big station on both.
Another
And
thing
a
that
big
should have
way
been
on this
considered.
side, and a big, because every Sunday, well, maybe not every Sunday, but quite often on Sundays, my uncle and aunt and their family would come out to the farm. And then Aunt Ella and I would go with them when they came by train, when they went to go home, so that we would go down to the station across the tracks and wait for the train until the train went on. They were from up north Jersey. What, I forget now the name of the town.
It was a busy area, that train station in those days, right?
Oh, it was a big town, wasn't it? And even a little waiting station on this side, over by the store, Emmons' store.
But that big station was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's a very busy intersection there.
Did you ever go down to the ocean from there, take the train down, or?
No.
I heard some people used to go down to the shore from there.
Well, yeah, that's where the shore branched off, yeah.
And Fort Monmouth,
Mm-hmm.
World War I supplies.
And of course I don't remember, but I've been told that there was a good-sized hotel.
We've heard
From
about that.
Emmons' store and the hotel. I remember my father telling about that it burned down or something.
Well, and there was the Emmons
Yeah. Even
So-
in the post office being in that building once,
Mhm.
Mhm.
used to be in there before it was moved over to, what was her name?
Lester's,
Lester's, yeah.
Mhm. who in World War II, I can remember, she used to keep the post office open till the last train came in
Mhm.
with the mail.
Yeah,
She was supposed to close at 7, and she always waited for that train. Everyone was waiting to hear from the
Yeah.
soldiers in the service, and she's
So that
very
post
nicely did
office
that.
moved from where the hotel was over to Mrs. Lester's and back to that same spot again later on then? I guess when Kip
no, where
Emmons
the
had,
hotel was,
Oh.
it was the next,
where Emmons' store was?
Emmons' store, and then that was a double house.
Right.
Then
Right.
there was a house, then there was another building on down.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
where the post office was in that.
Oh, okay. Oh, it was right
Was
next
in
door
that.
to where it moved to, okay.
Mm.
I was gonna say, that's funny, it moved back.
Goosenberry's, in Goosenberry's place.
Mhm.
There seemed to be a house kind of behind that too.
I think
There's
so.
two buildings there.
Yeah.
And they made that front into a store later on when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
For a while, I guess during World War II, that was a store also. An ice cream store, if I'm not mistaken, or
Well,
some
you
type of
know,
store.
I was just gonna say, what I remember about an ice cream store, wasn't there one, the Ziegler's?
That was the baker.
He was a baker.
Right,
Did he
yeah,
sell
that's-
ice cream cones too?
I don't, well,
No.
Santa Was's.
I think
Oh,
Dad.
Santa Wasa
yeah, right.
sold the ice cream
Right.
cones.
They had lots
Yeah.
of very good ones there.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, one part was the bar and one part was the ice cream store.
Yeah, yeah. And here, way back, there was a movie house across from.
Mhm.
Next
I
to
remember, I
Stewart's.
did go to the movies once, I remember.
And were they silent movies or were they talking movies, or do you remember?
Mm-mm.
The way my father
remember.
explained it, I thought maybe it might have been silent movies in the beginning because
And
They had a
you
piano
had to
player.
With the notations under each picture, perhaps.
We don't have any pictures of that row of homes, like the Emmons store and the double house.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know of any old pictures that I've seen. So
Well, that's
hopefully
the way-
they'll turn up.
Of the farmhouse that there must be a picture around, somebody must have, but I often wondered if there was.
Do you remember when maybe like the government started, the governing body, when, do you remember that at all, or school
In the
board?
township, you
Mhm.
mean? No, really, the only thing I remember, my father was, oh, what was it? When the elections were, of course, they were paper ballots, and he would be till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning counting ballots.
Yeah, my mother used to do that.
Yeah.
So I see you play your organ. That's your hobby?
Well, I haven't been playing it much, no, it needs repairing.
Uh-oh.
It needs some kind of cleaning or something, I guess, because a lot of the notes don't play anymore. So,
And you
I
belong
like the
to,
weather.
you belong to the senior citizens at South Brunswick?
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that kind
Yeah.
of, do you have any other hobbies?
Do
Read.
I have any? Well, I seem to be picked upon to be treasurer of everything.
Uh-huh. Well, maybe she can be our treasurer.
No more, I'm still treasurer of 3 different, am I still? One time I had about 4 or 5 I was doing.
and your husband had a lot to do with the Middlesex County Fair years ago. didn't he?
Yes. Yeah, well, he was president of the Fair Association for 20-some years. Mm.
You enjoyed the fair. Did you enter in any of the contests?
Not very often. I've been for the past, I don't know how many years, working in the office.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still down there.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Treasurer there too?
No, thank goodness. I handle money, but I'm not the treasurer. I'm not balancing things.
So you've seen that all be
Mm.
organized and grow.
Yeah.
It's changed in the town that you think was a very good idea?
Something that was changed that was
It's-
good?
Yes.
I don't know what to say.
That's okay.
Mm-mm.
Well, your senior citizen center, you enjoy that.
Yeah, I don't go that often to it. This one, there are two different clubs over there,
I see.
seniors, and then there's the, what is it called? Golden Age, the Golden Age Club, that one I'm treasurer of
There's an
now.
AARP, isn't there?
Yeah, they're there, but I've never gone to those meetings. I've belonged to AARP for years through the school, but I've never gone to one of their meetings here. Mm-mm.
Well, thank you, Bea. Enjoyed speaking with you.
Oh, you know what I was gonna, do you remember Van Dyke's butcher shop?
Yeah, people have,
Have they
You can-
told you about that?
Not really. We know the name, but can you tell us anything what it was like there, or what? You
It was just a small building, very small little building, right across the driveway. As you come up Ridge Road, you'd go right in Van Dyke's driveway. And their house was there, and it was right across the driveway was this little butcher shop. And he had a truck that he would go around the town with his pieces of meat and something, whatever he had, yeah. I remember my mother used to buy, she always made at the holidays, made plum pudding, which you use suet in instead of anything else, and she always would get it from Mr. Van Dyke. Well, and she was supposed to use a half pound, and she not watching, he gave her a pound.
he was a generous butcher.
Yeah, so her plum pudding wasn't so good that time. It
Mr.
had
Van
too much
Dyke's
suet in it. So the boys now, my two boys, every Thanksgiving I have to make plum pudding.
Aw. It's a family tradition, yeah.
So,
And then, excuse me, on the corner of Monmouth Drive and Ridge, Mr. Van Dyke's son built that home.
but yeah, that house there, yeah.
That was before the restaurant or whatever
Yeah.
went in their house is shown.
So that when I went to normal school, I stayed there through the week with Mrs. Van Dyke and went down to the railroad station and on the train through the week, and then the weekend I would go home.
Do you remember the trolley?
No.
Trolley.
Mm-mm.
You were too young.
Mm-mm.
Your mother went to school on the trolley.
Oh, yeah?
New Brunswick High.
How were the winters in Monmouth Junction years ago? Were they pretty tough, or?
Well, I think we had a lot more snow than we have now nowadays. Yeah, keep your fingers crossed. And of course, I can remember my father, along with all the men, having to go out and shovel the roads. There were no snow plows.
I remember my brother shoveling snow for the township.
Yeah,
Shoveling it. Shoveling the roads.
yeah, you'd have to shovel, right.
I didn't know that. I know the railroad, we used to go out and shovel the switches
Oh,
on
I
the
remember
railroad.
that. Burning the switches.
Burning the switches, and that used to be a real dangerous job.
Yeah,
Because you couldn't hear the trains coming in the snow. It made it real muffled. And people working, they had to have a watchman and protect everybody. Every once in a while you see one of those cans with the fire get hit by a train and the fire go all over. Guy had to drop it and run to get out of the way of the train. So there were two crossings in Monmouth Junction years ago. The one down where you lived, and then the one down the New Road crossing.
yeah, new road crossing.
And then there was one by
But in Clayton's
oh,
area,
there was one there too?
somewhere, wasn't there?
Siding.
So
I
there were
used to
three
hear
then.
Mrs. Emmons talking about her having to go across that railroad track. I don't know where the school was.
There was a girl hit by a train,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's why they
the
built the
killed
bridge.
there, yeah.
But so then there must have been 3 railroad crossings in Monmouth Junction,
Mm-hmm.
because there was one that, when we were over at the Smith Farm, they told us about, the one right there at the,
Yes, by the foot of the hill, Hungry Hill,
Yeah,
in back of the Dost home.
yeah, that's where I went across the railroad tracks to go to Carson's. The house across was where they were living.
Well, we used to go to school and cross with the gate tender on this old new road
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And we all came home for lunch. And we went back to school.
Mm.
And that's when the railroad was very busy,
yeah.
very busy.
Yeah. Remember, put up the gates so you could go across.
Never heard a gate tender complain about the kids not listening either, because you
Mhm.
were just told you better listen.
Yeah.
Well, children were entirely different those days than they are today.
Yeah, I guess you saw with teaching and everything, you could see the difference.
Mhm.
As the time changed, you could see the change in the children.
Right, right.
What was the biggest change, do you feel, in education that you saw?
The biggest change?
Was there a big change?
Well, well, of course, people won't like to hear me say it, but the parents' involvement created a lot of problems, I think. I mean, it just gave the children the feeling that, well, they don't have to mind the teacher. There was my mother says I don't have to, and all, you know, too much, parents having too much to say. What I'd like to know, do you know anything about this charter school? What
Not
is it?
really.
What is it?
I
How
don't,
is it going to operate?
well, it would be if you wanted to start a school.
Well, who's going to supervise this?
Well,
Who's
you
going-
would say you would supervise it, and you would, I don't know
Well,
exactly
who am I
what
to say
the,
what these children are going to have, different from other children living in the same
maybe
community?
someone else would like that. I really don't know too much about it.
I don't either. I'd like to know more about it. How's that going to work?
Well, I suppose it
Of
would
course,
be
only
funded by
a
the
certain
state.
number are going to be allowed to go.
I think it's where the vouchers would really come to play, and that people had a choice to go to the charter school or the public school. I think it would be very similar to a private school financed by the state. I really don't know. I really don't know.
Oh. Mm-mm. They have, some people get queer ideas.
Education is always controversial.
Mm.
Were there any other highlights in your past?
Anyone?
Any highlights that you'd like to tell us about, like any funny stories or anything that you thought was of interest to your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, that they might like to remember
I don't
from
think
you?
I'm ever going to get any great-grandchildren.
Don't give up.
No, the 2 girls insist they're not going to have any families. And the 2 boys are too young yet, so.
Well,
No.
enjoyed this. Thank
Very
you.
much. Thank you. Shed a lot of light on areas that we haven't heard before.
Yes.
Um,
And this is what's important.